Welcome to my video, 10 tips and lessons learned from designing my first AI generated and AI assisted videos for the YouTube channel called Digital Shenanigans. I have absolutely blasted through my first 10 videos in I think, oh man, like a weekend. So some of you know I work as an instructional designer, and AI is kind of on the horizon of things that we are going to be using in content creation and content design, but it's also very much, deeply in the works. So I wanted to start exploring video creation through different free and subscription-based services, both just to understand what this is about, and then also to teach anyone who's kind of interested in the field. So more to come on all of that. Really, the point of today is just to take a look at the first 10 videos. So a lot of the content is going to be janky. This wasn't designed to be pretty at first, to be totally honest. I just thought a lot of it was really funny and kind of surreal. But as I continued on, I started to learn and discover more about, this form of media, and I found it pretty fascinating. So didn't totally think it would go this fast, but I made 5 videos and 5 shorts. This weekend, the shorts are going to have an asterisk after them, so you'll see it's a 50-50 split. And we started out with two potatoes, just having a friendly discussion about a washing machine, as potatoes tend to do, and ended it with something much less random. And so we'll talk a little bit about the logic in the design of the project, but I think largely we'll just try to keep it to one tip and or lesson per video. So first one, two potatoes discuss a washing machine on Jupiter, and this was the Capwing version. I actually think it's called Kapwing. I just really like saying Capwing. So let's take a look at part of this video to really understand the main lesson that I learned. So really about this point in the video, when I first generated this by entering a script, and the script is just the title, I put it into Kapwing and this is what we got. I started realizing, oh, these potatoes are thinking about a washing machine, here we go, specifically designed for Jupiter. That was a delightful surprise, which I was hoping for, but it really made me think about grammar. And I highlighted in the title the moment that I realized in the sentence here that the software was interpreting. So had I moved on Jupiter to two potatoes on Jupiter discuss a washing machine, that would have been a lot closer to the intention that I was trying to get to. I was imagining two potatoes just like hanging out in space talking about a washing machine. So I went in expecting a certain result, and I definitely didn't get it. And I think that was a really good kickoff to the project, because I think that was part of the point in exploring this, is to say, how is the software interpreting the information that it's being given? So consider grammar. If you're a content creator, if you're a designer, if you're a video editor wading into the world of artificially intelligent generated and assisted video, the grammar is going to be a big deal. I imagine with enough time, the software will learn how to engage context. But for now, yeah, you might get some unexpected and pretty intriguing surprises. I'm going to be honest too, I have no idea why this video started with a bunch of ants on ice, some kind of insect, some kind of thing. So that, no idea where that came from, but it was an interesting surprise. Number 2, same prompt.
Potato 1, hey Potato 2. Have you ever wondered what a washing machine on Jupiter would be like? Potato 2, well, isn't Jupiter a gas giant?
First of all, I think it's so hilarious that they have curious confusion up there. It's almost like you can see the back end of the software talking through the design. So I started out by saying, this is an image versus personality consideration. And maybe I'll play a little bit more so you can see what I mean here.
Would a washing machine even work there? I am intrigued. Potato 1, you're right, Potato 2. Jupiter's intense gravity might cause some challenges for a washing machine.
Yeah, great point. Potato 1. So we've got Potato 2, really curious, engaged in the subject material. Potato 1 apparently has this really intense background knowledge on Jupiter. Um, this was a really fascinating result that made me think, frankly, of fiction, right? So fiction may be adapted by into a movie, into a TV show, and so we see the characters come to life, into a performance, in a theater. And what's relevant here is understanding, like, we're not going to get two potatoes with mouths and feet hanging out, right? But we're going to get a sense of who they are. And this is another thing I anticipate changing. It's a highly sophisticated ask to just have, potatoes talking. I wanted it to be a super random, statistically unlikely thing just to see what would happen. But I think this was a pretty slick intervention on the software's part, that if you can't show the image, show the personality. Yeah, it was super meta with the caption that it's curious, but I think there's a charm to that. Would I share this in a corporate training? Probably not. I sort of hope that I would, but I think there's still a little bit of ways to go before something like that could be activated immediately. And it could have also been the template that I chose to have this guy in the yellow shirt. um, he looks extremely realistic to me. I'm actually very curious if that's an actor, or if that was designed, but more to come on that front. Let's take a look at the next slide. So, chocolate flavored motivation. Here's a very brief clip.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and chocolate enthusiasts. Today, I stand before you to share the wonders and joys of chocolate, a sweet indulgence that has captured the hearts and palates of people across the globe.
I find that really funny. So, hearts and palates instead of hearts and minds. It's a very interesting, sophisticated rendering. So, the intention here is I entered into, I think it was Chat GPT. I said to Chat GPT, create a motivational speech about chocolate. The breadth of the speech surprised me. It generated about 3 minutes worth of content. And in the past, when I was using text generators, I was receiving lists, usually lists of 10 or maybe one paragraph. And I really think it's because I entered speech, or possibly even the word motivation, that this much text was generated. And it was generated really quickly. The whole text, I would say, is fairly articulate. So it was just fascinating to see, how much gas was in the tank, so to speak. I'm going to move to the next one. That was really the biggest takeaway here. Was just simply the amount of text that was generated from that particular prompt. All right, dad joke coffee. I think this was my first short. So let's take a look and a listen.
Why did the coffee beans attend a self-awareness workshop? They wanted to work on being more grounded. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, I had to play that whole one. I think this is one of my favorites. His little bow tie, the ha 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 added at the end. I think here what really stood out to me was just the how realistic his voice sounds to me. I think in some cases, you can easily identify a voice as AI generated. I'm making an effort on the channel to not use AI generated voice for most of this. There's a lot of reasons for that, but in this case, I was just genuinely surprised. I think they had several options too for voice. This was the second dad joke coffee that I made, and I'll talk about that toward the end. I think for now, though, we're going to jump to the next one. All right, Orange You Glad. Let's take a listen.
All right, let's paint a lyrical picture about oranges in the style of Bob Ross.
All right. This was definitely one of the ones that was the most fun and time intensive. This took a lot of different software, and the star of this show I thought was going to be a caption generator. What I learned here is the caption generator in some cases is going to take as much time as manually entering captions, depending on what software you're using. And then also, I would say the clarity of the voice. So as you can hear, I did the vocals with an auto-tune software, and I was really, really impressed with how much accuracy there was. I would say 85% accuracy. But going back in and editing, I noticed that the mouse would skip around from one word to then 5 words behind it to 7 words ahead of it. I don't really know what was going on there. That wasn't something I was doing, so I'd have to make more than one edit just to make one edit, and that was a little bit frustrating. So keep in mind that if you really know the language that you want to write into your video, it actually might be quicker to do it manually. Again, I'll have to play with different caption generators to see, to test the accuracy. Does the clarity of voice change it? But yeah, just keep in mind that in some ways the old-fashioned way of doing it might, well, the slightly old-fashioned way, right? Because writing it by hand is perhaps old-fashioned, the oldest fashioned. But yeah, in this case, not as much ROI as I expected, and that is okay. This project is just a big experiment. So here's the short that I made from the last video that we watched. Aren't you glad?
All right.
So we don't need to hear that whole thing again, but we see that it's essentially a straight up reproduction. I just pulled it from the beginning. So really small lesson, but I think important, especially if you're interested in creating shorts. The video length that I created, that I downloaded, was like a second longer than the video length that was shown on the design software. So if you want to make a short and you've got 59 seconds in the design stage, it might end up being 62 seconds when you render it. Someone with more technical expertise, hopefully in the comments, can explain why that is, but just know that if you've got, for whatever reason, a very strict length, that there might be, I don't know, metadata or something added in the second phase. Not a huge deal, but again, if you're working for whatever reason with very tight design parameters, that could come up. Let's take a little peek at what this one was. All right, so we're going to use ChatGPT to write a joke script, and then we're going to see what scenes and video suggests for us. Why did the chef quit cooking? Because he couldn't find the time to continue. That's a good one. I love that one. So humor limitations, what does that actually mean in this context? So in order to generate a joke on ChatGPT, I went through, I want to say 5 or 6 searches in order to kind of find what I was looking for. And what I realized is this was the first script generator, text generator that I found that didn't actually feel original. I had heard a lot of the jokes before. The software repeated a lot of the jokes, and it took one, and I clicked the regenerate button to see if it would change the answer, and I just got the same joke 5 or 6 times. So again, you're going to hear this theme. I do anticipate that changing over time as the software learns and responds from user interaction, but that was a pretty interesting and somewhat unexpected result. Humor is a big part of why I started the project, and so I'm really interested in the intersection between humor and artificial intelligence. More to come there. I think there's a lot that we can find here. So you're going to see this white text on this black background, and you saw it before this frame. User experience in this case just is focusing on the fact that I think I had a black text on like a dark purple background. And so I realized that in some cases the templates or the videos are not necessarily optimized for a human user experience, right? So it's easier on our eyes to see this very light text on this very dark background. And so although I was trying to minimize the editing that I did for this part of the larger project that I'm working on, in this case, I wanted to just lighten it up, make it easier for viewers to actually understand what they were looking at. So that was an intriguing find because it, I think, did come from a template. And so I was surprised by that, but I do think it helps us learn a little bit more deeply when we jump in and make small tweaks and just kind of use the templates as something to respond to. Some people are going to want to build it from the ground up. So whatever you do, whatever brought you here, any type of content creator that you are, do what you got to do with the software. For me, I do sometimes like responding to the templates and kind of understanding how the design is embedded from there. All right, dad joke, coffee, and video. So this is where I learned that there are different subscription models. I actually made this one. I think it was the third video that I made, but it ended up coming almost last in line because I was still working exclusively with free subscriptions at this point, or I guess non-subscriptions at this point. And so, well, you can design it in video. You can't actually you can't download, which for those of you who just want to get in, get your hands dirty, kind of cut your teeth on the world of video design, this can be a really nice environment to do that in. Having said that, to be able to actually download, you're going to have to pay for, one of many different subscription items that they have. And so this hasn't so far been true for any of the other softwares that I worked with. I think, there are some pros and cons for yourself and then for their own business model. So I do get it. But it definitely surprised me as NVIDIA was one of the later softwares that I did end up using. So I kind of learned that lesson after I already had an expectation built up. All right, let's take a look at the last slide. If you can see this guy, he's very intriguing to me. He's the most sort of symbolic image that was chosen. He almost looks like a supervillain. So part of my interest in choosing Book of Genesis was, I live in America. This is a really common story. Let there be light. Whatever you believe, whatever you don't believe, I thought the AI was very likely to have encountered this story. And so it was interesting to me to see the images that they chose. I assume most of them would fit pretty well. And they did, I would say, with the exception of this one. Having said that, what I learned continuing the subscription model lessons is that the NVIDIA paid subscription that I have has a limit of 10 images that you can have per month without the watermark. And so I had surpassed that, and they started giving me certain images and repeating them in order to kind of meet that parameter. And I don't mind the watermark, but for this project specifically, I don't. So just keep that in mind that you may have limitations based on your subscription, based on the software really that you're working with. And so that pretty much sums up lessons in the first 10 videos. Again, whatever brought you here, I hope you found something of value here. I'd appreciate it if you like, comment, subscribe, and share as you so desire. Gonna keep working on this larger project and some other ones, and so hopefully I'll be pushing more content out to you soon, having a lot more exploration of artificial intelligence in the background. And I will see you soon.